Joining us in the studio for more on the subject is Jalynn Prince, founder of the Madison House Autism Foundation, based in Rockville, Maryland, outside Washington, D.C. Ms. Prince, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much.
So, autism obviously seems to be increasing, at least. Is it because there is better diagnosis or because more children are affected? What is your take on this?
I think there's a number of reasons at hand. I think that there's a lot more awareness right now. There probably are additional cases that are out there. And we are learning more, and the umbrella has been made much larger in recent years than it had been before.
Now, one of the issues that, as I mentioned earlier, is really facing families is children when they grow up to become adults. Yes. What do they have as resources? And that's where you came in with your organization, because you are a parent with a child with autism. He's now 26. Madison, yes. Tell us about that.
Well, we did some research to find out where we could be most helpful in this arena. My husband and I had been privileged enough to have some very interesting experiences in life that we wanted to bring into play to help our son and all of the other Madisons in the world. Yes. And especially here in the United States. And we saw that there was very little that has been done for adults, and possibly 60 years of life are spent as being adults, a majority of life. Mm-hmm. And the issues go everywhere from the lack of appropriate housing, the issues of how you transition from one thing to another, the acceptance of the community, jobs, people being willing to employ often some very gifted people, yes, that may be a little bit different than some of the other people in the office. Mm-hmm. How do we make certain that there are opportunities in employment, housing, and good health care?
Now, what have you observed over the years? Do you think that there is more today to address autism than there were when Madison was diagnosed?
Well, in some ways, there's still a lot of stuff that's happening for children. And many people still feel that when somebody becomes an adult, somehow autism disappears. But autistic children grow up to be autistic adults. Absolutely. And the needs change, and some of the things become much larger in scope because the needs of adults are often much larger in scope. And there's only about 3% of the autism research funding out of NIH that goes into looking at the adult life. Mm-hmm. And everything else is geared toward children. So there's a huge need.
So when you look at the needs, there are many, as you mentioned. What are the top priorities, and how are you addressing this through your center?
We have many things. One of the things we really are active in is looking at the issues of housing and what is appropriate. And sometimes it's kind of said, well, there's one type of model that is appropriate, and there may be some funding for that. And we feel that this is such a broad and complex topic with very complex individuals that to have one simple answer is not necessarily sufficient. And so we're encouraging communities, individuals, parents to look at different types of options for people to live in. And it may not be where they work, they may engage in other situations, but housing, and parents often will say to us, we are concerned about what will be happening with our adult child when we're no longer around.
Yes, indeed. Now, what do you hope to see when it comes to research and development? Because what's available now, I hear some parents saying, it's not enough, of course. What would you hope to see?
Well, it depends in which area. There are really no treatments that are autism specific. The medications that are often used are for other types of situations, and drugs used for mental health and depression and things of that nature. We need to understand more about the physiology of the adult and what that happens to mean. We need to make certain that in healthcare that there are more doctors that are informed in how to work with patients in delivering health care for typical medical situations. And we don't have a lot of physicians that feel comfortable in treating people with sensory issues.
Now, to end on this note, if Madison wanted to share a message, if he wanted people to know about what children and adults with autism are going through, what do you think he would want people to say?
Oh, that is a huge, huge question. I would say stop, listen, understand that sometimes differences don't need to be frightening. Take a little bit more time with me and understanding what you are asking me and and how I process things. Have patience, because you'll grow from the patience and I will have an opportunity to develop if you have patience. I think that's what he might say.
Thank you so much, Ms. Prince. That was great. It was nice to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And that was Jalynn Prince. She is founder of the Madison House Autism Foundation.